Let me tell you something about how these college things go. There's a lot of difference between the your guy, my guy in college. In Alabama, every time they would go through that exercise, they were taking all their guys.
They had better competition in practice.
They did. Now, this is a very true thing. Devontae Smith, he ain't running routes for the Patriots right now. And that offensive line, the gap between the Patriots offensive line and the defensive lines that they play every week is really narrow. When Mac Jones was at Alabama, he was playing behind offensive lines.
A guy with the name Leatherwood.
I mean,
offensive line with the name Leatherwood?
You're not getting pressured. You're not getting touched. The pocket is always clean.
Yeah.
That's an issue. You flip it to the Ohio State guys that people have talked about in recent years. You got Justin Fields right now. Sounds like the Bears are trying to figure out what to do with him. But he's a guy who was throwing to wide receivers that were taking the top off the defense.
Shallow cross
guys
at 2
who
yards,
could catch and run
85.
underneath and go. And then you had running backs that could run it behind an offensive line with really good players, draftable tight ends. Dwayne Haskins, God rest his soul. The same thing. He had all of those guys out there. You get to the NFL, it becomes a different game. Talent's equated. Now, what are you going to do to elevate your guys? They haven't had to do that before, and that's what the issue is.
Okay, well, you had Jalen Hurts. He started his career at Alabama, went to Oklahoma. You got Tua Tagovailoa. He's been playing well. So, I mean, those are a few
Baker
guys
Mayfield on the other side who won a Heisman Trophy and had a bunch of guys around him, and he's not very good. The jury's still out on Kyler Murray. I'm not exactly sure he can see who he's throwing it to.
Okay, well, what can they do when they're drafting guys, when they're doing these scouting? How can they look past this to kind of weed out the bad guys?
Mental.
So we'll go through this. The mental part, and I'll let you talk about what that means for a quarterback, is big. I think that teams need to look at mechanics, traits, like things that translate regardless of these quarterbacks more than just what they were able to do in their stats, the numbers, and then system too, where a lot of these guys are playing in more college systems where it's check with me on the sideline, they get the play in, it's the RPO thing, and if you're going to insert a guy into a pro-style offense and he didn't do any of that, you're probably going to have a little bit of trouble early on.
Dev, you're working with young quarterbacks all the time. What are some things you would be looking for?
Yeah, the mental fortitude and the willingness to perform and get better. Let's be honest, a lot of people play the game of football, some because they love it and some because they know they can get paid doing it. Right, so when you get to the point where you get to the level that you've always tried to get to, right, do you still have that same attention to detail, same study habits? Do you still try to improve each and every day? And when you haven't had to do that for 4 years at a school where all of your players are better than all the other players, how do you have those habits, right? And I mean, like you said, when you get to the NFL, it's so much faster. I remember, I'm sure you had experiences similar to the experiences I had in practice, right? You don't even get to the game. The practice experience where the older players just, they're not really that much faster than you.
Because
they just think way faster than you. They know exactly where they're going, and they're going to get there before you just because you just don't know, right? So the level is totally different. Not the speed so much so, but everybody's a very good player. So it's tough for me to see these quarterbacks who just haven't had to carry a team. Now you're on a team that you have to carry them. They just can't do it.